Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Lloyd and I represent HitSquad TV, and I want to thank each and every single individual that's now tuning in to the TeamHitSquad Podcast, Episode 2. Officially, Episode 2. See, originally, we started on Instagram Live, and we started off with probably 3 viewers, and they were just all pretty much our TeamHitSquad athletes watching us. And it went from there to people wanting it on Facebook. And we took it to Facebook for about 2 weeks. And we've always had a whisper from back in July when we were doing the Riding Derby podcast with IB Drunky. And we were getting asked, like, why don't you do it as an actual podcast? Like, I want to be able to carry it on the go. I want to be able to hear your opinions and then go from there. And I admit it was a lot of work. I mean, I was still trying to figure out during that time in July of this past year exactly how I wanted to do this live broadcasting thing. Like, I really enjoy being in front of a camera, but at the same time, it makes it a little easier when you're just behind a microphone and you're able to not necessarily just focus and trying to keep your composure and making sure that the screen isn't blurry and then we're reading off questions. Like, this type of platform gives me the opportunity to just kind of space out and just let me speak my mind and whatnot. And I'm very appreciative of our sponsors that allow us the opportunity to do this 5 days a week. And the sponsors are Anabolix Skate. You can check them out at anabolixskate.com. If you use HitSquad TV as your promo code, you'll get an extra 10% off your purchase. So who doesn't like that? EmpireSkateShop.com. Make sure you check them out. EmpireSkateShop.com. Use HitSquad TV as your promo code and you get 10% off automatically. Also want to give a shout out to our working relationship with RollerCon right now. Their tickets are out right now. I have an incredible time every time I am out at RollerCon, and this year is the 5th year that I will be there. I am so excited. We are on the march to HitSquad TV's 5-year anniversary. I'm personally excited. I wouldn't have known 5 years ago if you would have told me that this was going to happen, that I would most likely have not have believed you in any sort of way, matter, or form. I also want to give a shout out to the Big O tournament. There's an incredible amount of teams that are already signed up for the Big O tournament. Like for WFTDA, you have the Denver Roller Derby team, Eville Roller Derby, Montreal Roller Derby, and Rose City Rollers, your defending champions. For MRDA, we have Vancouver Murder. We also do have the Drive-By City Rollers, and we have the Puget Sound Outcast Roller Derby squad. And for the juniors, we have Pile of Bones, Los Anarchists, Santa Cruz Derby Groms, Seattle Derby Brats. And that's what we have so far right now, but there are so many more teams to be added. I think they usually round out at about 20 teams. They have 3 tracks going all 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. All high-level competitive bouts. You can catch it live, and you can get your tickets at bigotournament.com, or you can actually get the live stream. And I'm telling you right now, their live stream is absolutely head above shoulders better than WFTDA. I'm just going to say it out. I'm just saying. They have their stuff together. Although their feed was dropping during MRDA Champs because they were the same group that's making it happen, you have to realize the things some things you just can't fix. There's mechanical problems. I mean, things that you can technically fix, but you're going to need money. Like with WFTDA, I'm more than certain they had such an incredible amount of numbers attempting to watch that live stream. And WFTDA, as international as they are, they do have teams all across the entire earth, basically. They still don't have a decent way to give us internet. Give us a strong enough stream. So although I do see them as an international company, they could barely afford that. And that's something that they're going to need to look into, and they're going to need to fix it, because if they're going to take themselves even more serious than what they already are, when you finally get fans or people that are genuinely interested in your product, they come and watch that, and all of a sudden their feed goes down. Never mind the fact that they have nothing invested in roller derby. So any sort of glitch or problem, or it pauses or it stops, they will not hesitate to stop watching and will not watch. And then they will start telling that they had a bad experience. I mean, you hear these situations with WFTDA's live stream, and people genuinely do not like it. I know when I've bought the pass, I believe 4 times now, and I keep telling myself, I'm not going to buy it again. I'm not going to buy it. Because quite frankly, I have a lot of fun catching up with people on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. Like, I enjoy doing that type of stuff. I enjoy doing that. I enjoy watching the bout, but I really wish that they would figure out how to get me something stronger. But that's neither here or there. That's a conversation for yet another day. Let's continue on. We currently have Team Hit Squad shirts available. All we're going to go ahead and need is your name, your size, your address, and $25 to get you rolling with the team. And you can send that to either paypal.me/HitSquadTV, or you can actually check out Empire Skate Shop. You can check them out right now. Sorry, I had just got a message. Something involving some derby going on. Yes, indeed. So, we also have Mr. Testosterone's Just Spin shirt. It is currently for sale, $25, and it ships worldwide. And you can also send the name, the size, your address, $25. And you can send it to paypal.me/HitSquadTV. And we can go ahead and get you rolling looking good. Hit Squad University East will be happening on January 6th, 2019 in DeLand, Florida. The address is 1779 North Spring Garden Avenue. We will be having coaching by none other than Victor Dutch, the 2-time champion from the Diamond City Miners. We also will be having Dizzy Izzy, Team Hit Squad athlete, currently skates for Duval and the Attack Pack, and is a World Cup gold medalist. We also will have the hometown hero, Olivia Glisson, the youngest signed S1 athlete and the youngest player to ever play dual leagues in JRDA, and is a World Cup silver medalist with Team USA East. And then we finally have Speed Bryu, the 2-time Open Division champion, and is a World Cup gold medalist. This young man has 1 year left in JRDA, and he will be floating on into the future. And I can't wait to see what he does in his final 2018 season. Olivia and Dizzy still have a couple years in JRDA, and now that they are together, see, that's the thing that scares me. Knowing the fact that these kids are pretty young, but they are so ridiculously skilled and talented, combining Dizzy Izzy with Olivia makes a pretty strong and deadly combination in the front. But they also added an entire, if I'm not mistaken, I think they got like 5, maybe 6 USA East World Cup players on the Attack Pack. They are making a strong push to go up against the Diamond City Miners. Last year, or this past JRDA champs, unfortunately, we had Road Rage that unfortunately got injured in the semifinal bout. Whoever would win would advance on. And unfortunately, because of that injury, and I believe Tap and Duval were playing at the same time, they didn't have all of their manpower. And unfortunately, they did lose, and they were unfortunately unable to advance. And I believe the team that they lost to was eventually the second place team. And that was the Derby Brats of Des Moines. So, we're going to have a lot of incredible people at Hit Squad University. It's ran by nothing but Team Hit Squad athletes. I'm very proud, very happy to be having this and proud of announcing that we do this type of stuff. It's always a beautiful thing. I'm going to be leading a videography class, and a couple things that you should be expecting is we're going to teach you how to shoot. We're not going to necessarily show you on how to edit, but what we will show you is how to make it easier for you, so when you get to the editing room, you're not going to struggle with trying to create the ideas. Instead, like panning, for example, or just overall story ideas and arches and whatnot, we help you with that. We try to tell you what we think about as far as stories go and how we go about all that. So make sure you are there. It is January 6th, 2019 in DeLand, Florida. And once again, the address is 1779 North Spring Garden Avenue. Once again, that is January 6th, 2019 in DeLand, Florida. Address is 1779 North Spring Garden Avenue. So, let's talk about our main subject today. I originally was going to start off with this story yesterday, but since it was officially our first podcast, I wanted to make sure that I got our introduction done first. So that way we can now start rolling into pretty much whatever I want to talk about. And that's the beauty of this podcast. There's no real limit. We're not just going to stay in roller derby, because the fact of the matter is, in a human's life that is involved with roller derby, 100% of the time, it's not just roller derby. You like music, you like working out, you like doing a whole bunch of things. So we're going to make sure that we touch on a whole bunch of subjects, but we're going to make sure that we tie it in with roller derby at the end. So this story right here is called I Killed Rock and Roll. Now, yesterday on the show, I was telling you that I was originally a musician. I started loving music from the age of 10 and onward. I learned how to play my first instrument very late in my life, at the age of 25, which isn't necessarily super duper late. It's not by any means, but later on in life, I should say. And there's a reason why I'm saying that I killed rock and roll, and it's kind of the progression of things, kind of the progression of how things eventually evolve. And that kind of ties in with roller derby, like right now with junior roller derby. As a matter of fact, let's back up real quick. I have always said that in roller derby, we are in the Leatherhead era, where the rules are still unstable, like it's changing every couple months, every year, every so often. And, no one's getting paid for it yet. We're still kind of doing our DIY thing, and that's completely fine. I come from DIY. All of this is DIY. So if anyone ever says that I don't like DIY or I look down on it, forget them. I do DIY on everything. Album covers, songs now, videos, filming, everything. Everything is DIY here. But I digress. JRDA and their juniors are leading the way right now. They're doing a phenomenal job on being able to raise these athletes to be able to come into WFTDA and MRDA and USARS and even speed skating and Olympic skating, and they're taking over. And some of the kids' backgrounds and some of these adult backgrounds now have JRDA. You look at Much Mayhem, for example. You have Gallifrey. The MVP came from JRDA. Much Mayhem came from juniors. She was playing since she was a junior. You see the effect of what's happening now, and they're taking over. It's because we are investing in the future, and people are now starting to turn and pay attention to that, and I think that's very beautiful. And kind of going from that subject to what I'm going to be talking about, how I killed rock and roll, the story starts like this. When I was 10 years old, I wanted to learn how to play an instrument, and my parents bought me a piano keyboard. And I was very super excited. It was a Casio. I remember figuring out the drums, I think it was the very last preset, and I was making drum beats like boom, 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 ba, boom, boom, ba, boom, ba. I was feeling really good about my life. And I quickly realized that, oh man, I need to actually learn how to play chords and play things, because I realized that it was a lot harder than what I had originally imagined. So I decided to kind of walk away from that situation for a while. I didn't know if I was really going to love music that way. I mean, at the age of 10. But when I was in Mexico, in Agualuco, Jalisco, I was visiting my grandfather, and my grandpa had gone to the back, and I was sitting in the living room by myself. And I turn on the television, and it's MTV, and they're doing a top 10 countdown of the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And number 10 was a song that caught my attention the absolute most. It was Other Side. And to this day, I still get chills in my hand, on my arms and my legs, and just around my entire body, because that song means a lot to me. It helped me write my very first song called Happy Birthday, and I think I told you all that yesterday, so we won't go too far into that. I quickly fell in love with music. I quickly fell in love with writing. I quickly fell in love with the creative process, and I started using that to my advantage. To whenever I felt sad, I would be able to write it down, and by the time I was done, I would feel somewhat better. It was my only way to cope with everyday life. And I did that for years and years, all the way up to when I turned 25, 26. And that growing process helped me a lot, because it helped me really discover my own emotions and my own feelings, how I really felt about things and how I really felt about situations, from controversial things to non-controversial things. Like, it helped me. Music and writing helped me get through my teenage years. My teenage years were the years that I absolutely hated. I hated my teenage years. I hated my junior year. And I loved my senior year. And what's crazy was, in my junior year, I was going to Canyon Springs High School. And it was a regular old high school full of people that just cared more about fashion than anything. And I decided to basically forge my parents' signature and get me to go to March Mountain Continuation School, because at that moment I was so scared to tell my parents that my school didn't want me anymore and they needed to send me to a continuation school in order for me to actually graduate and actually do something with my life at that moment. And it was the most scariest thing in the entire world. And the reason why I'm telling you that story is because it was around this general time where I started getting involved in creating instrumentals, creating beats. And it wasn't coming from a keyboard. It wasn't coming from the skill from my hands to create chords and progressions and all that. It came from a computer. It came from FL Studios. You see, when I turned 16, 17, I saved up as much money as I could. I think I got like $350. And my dad, bless his heart, was like, here's the last 100. Get your computer and, do whatever you want. My dad was always pushing me to go to school and to become a better version of himself. And I really appreciate him for that. But I think he even saw from a certain age that, like, yo, school is not for me. And my dad explained it to me very simply, like, okay, you don't want to do school? Just understand that life is very hard and very unforgiving. And this world is for the people that stay prepared. I didn't know what that meant until later on in life. So we got the computer. I get the program from my friend, Junior Cali. And he was a neighbor of mine, and we were writing music since, I think they started writing when they were 11 or 12. I wrote since I was 10. And I would show him some of the lyrics, and eventually we all started writing together. They had about 2 years ahead of me with making instrumentals and beats, because their parents bought them everything, like computers, programs, subwoofers, this incredible abundance of things to get them a career. And they did such a great job. They evolved so beautifully that when they got me the program. They got me FL Studios 4 or something like that. And I throw it onto the computer, and I'm over here thinking I'm a literal G because I created this beat, and I gave it to Junior Cali. I'm like, hey, what do you think of this? He's like, oh, that's pretty good. And I was like, do you mind if you could like if we co-produce it and you can add some stuff? And he's like, yeah, hold on. So he takes about 5 minutes and took my simple beat and turned it into this orchestration of beautiful rim shots and hi-hats and this angelic crash that was added a reverb that was added in reverse. It was crazy. I was like, oh my God, I have so much to learn. And I started wanting to learn, and I started pushing myself, and I started learning how to do everything electronically. I started learning how to create chords. I didn't know what they meant. I didn't know what they looked like, but I knew the sound that it would make. And that kind of starts the evolution of how I think I killed rock and roll. You see, it was during around this time, 2003. I mean, let's go back to 2010, when I was 10 years old. Around that time, that's where Scar Tissue came out. Rock and roll's doing very well. You got the Foo Fighters dominating and conquering. You have essentially a lot of bands out there. You have Rage Against the Machine, who at that moment was at its peak, I believe, 98, 99. And rock was doing very well. Hip-hop was already established. It was already there, but it hadn't made its way yet to like kind of pushing rock out of it and became the one, you know? And as time started going on, I started enjoying and creating music as far as on a computer goes, and you start seeing the shift in the time. You start thinking about 2002, 2003, when I really started creating music off of a computer. I mean, you look at hip-hop. Hip-hop is based off samples and beats. So we're not necessarily talking about that. We're talking about more of rock and roll's influence slowly started dying down. You would still have incredible bands out there. I mean, one of my personal favorites around that time was The Strokes. You had this abundance of talent out there, but you started slowly seeing it decline. You had Nas and Jay-Z's beef in 2001 that hit the headlines. You had Eminem that started even bringing more attention. And what started happening with hip-hop was knowing the fact that hip-hop is all electronic and they can create beats on command on the go. Rock and roll was not able to keep up. When hip-hop and rock and roll in the mid-90s around there, they were kind of releasing music around the same time because that was, I believe, the way things were during that time. And as time started progressing more, and then you had the internet era coming in, and you have people's attention maybe started getting more quicker, and you started holding people's attention more. People started getting things for free more. They started getting so much more than what they were bargaining for. So they started getting things quicker. You start getting movies. When movies used to come out, they would be out in theaters for like 3, 4, 5, 6 months, and then they would go on DVD like maybe 9 months after the initial release. Now they're out within 3 months, and that was an evolution, and that's what happened with music. So you look at 2003, 2004, I really started enjoying making music like that, and 2006, I started hitting my peak. I started becoming incredibly awesome on it. Still was light years away from someone like Junior Cali and Fabian Fabuloso, which is his twin brother. They both made instrumentals. One was more reggaeton. Both were reggaeton, but Junior Cali I always felt had more of that hip-hop flavor. So 2006 comes around, and I'm absolutely infatuated with the instrumentals that I'm making. But around that general time, I started kind of looking back, and I was dating this lady by the name of Jennifer. I don't want to call her lady. I mean, this young lady by the name of Jennifer. And she helped change my perception of a lot of things. Like, during that time, 2005, 2006, I didn't listen to really any rock and roll. It was just hip hop or nothing. It was Outkast, it was Nas, it was Jay-Z, it was Jay Dilla, it was Mos Def, Talib Kweli. That's what I was listening to. And then I met her, and she showed me Metallica, Led Zeppelin. Started showing me the 80s, started showing me the 70s, the 60s, started really opening my eyes to so much more out there than what I've always known. And one band in particular that caught my attention, and for some reason I never knew the name of these two bands. I never knew the name of their big major hit songs until for some reason I turned 20 and I re-fell in love with them, but I never found out the names of the song. And one was Bulls on Parade by Rage Against the Machine and Everlong by the Foo Fighters. Those two songs changed my life in one way or in another. I remember I heard Rage Against the Machine's Bulls on Parade when I was in Los Angeles visiting my aunt and my cousins. I believe I was like 9 or 10. Yeah, like 9. And I remember I was inside my cousin's room playing an NHL hockey game on the Super Nintendo, and all of a sudden I hear this song, jun 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 jun, and I get up and I look, and I'm looking at the screen. I didn't like the graphics. I was like, oh, whatever, just walk away. But the tune always stood in my head, and then come to find out, that moment in life basically sparked that 20-year-old mentality of mine that really started pushing and be like, I don't want to make hip hop beats anymore. I want to be in a effing band. What am I doing? I want to jump in front of a crowd. I want to go crazy. And then I find out who Dave Grohl was and his history with Nirvana, and then eventually starting the Foo Fighters, and then eventually starring in all these other bands, whether as a guitarist or a drummer. He was the devil in the Pick of Destiny with Tenacious D. Like, I idolize this man. And truth be told, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have ever grown my hair out. You would have never have seen me with long hair if I didn't discover who Dave Grohl was. He's an absolute idol of mine because of how kind he is, of how willing he is to give his opinion and help you in any situation. He's the person that I strive to be, and I hope people look at me the same way by the time I'm done with either making music or making videos. So moving on forward, I decided to want to be part of a band, and I decided to start it, and I create my band, and it's called The New Danger. And the reason why I picked The New Danger was because Mos Def in 2003-2004 released an album called The New Danger. But we didn't name it The New Danger because of that album. It was just for the fact that it pushed us in that general direction. But the reason why I liked The New Danger was because I wrote it in a song, and I named it The New Danger. And I remember hearing this kind of Jamaican style beat, boom, bum, ba, bum, bum, ba, bum, ba, boom, ba, ba, da, ba, down, down, ba, boom, ba, 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 boom, ba, bum, ba. You know, that type of beat. So I start flowing with it. The new catastrophe to your anatomy, man, I had to be L to the Noxian, ready to box. So many for that flows unorthodox. First you get locked down, then your dreams shut down, then your time slow down. This is how it goes down. Plan, watch the body slam, keep the heat on your side, pray to God it don't jam. Welcome to the concrete jungle, fight for survival. They cut your vital, see it's all the same when they talk about freedom. C fun, C gun, C blast, C run, double LOYDKNOX. Got the game on lock, ain't nobody got next. It's all the same when they holly and aim, things ain't gonna be the same. Here comes the new danger. And that was the last line that I wrote for that song. And I saw it and I showed it to my guitarist at the time. And he's like, that's a pretty good name. So we grabbed it and we ran with it. We went with The New Danger. And then it wasn't until later on that I figured out where the connection came from. I really enjoyed Ghetto Rock by Mos Def from that titled album, The New Danger. It's incredible. It's a dope song. If you really want something to skate to, listen to that. It'll make you feel invincible. So I want to start creating music more on instruments. I wanted to start learning, but I wanted to just rap. I didn't really want to pick up an instrument. And I stopped making instrumentals on FL Studios and just strictly focused on my band. And at that time, as I was trying to cross back over to the instrumental side, I felt like it was too late, because then you got the arrival of 2006. Around 2005, 6, 7, things started really going downhill for two big reasons. For music, at least. One, the release of Soulja Boy. And the reason why I believe that's so big is because that was the first time you ever really heard an FL Studios beat. Do you remember that beat? How simple it was? Din, 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 Soulja Boy, tell him. You remember that instrumental. I used to make beats like that when I first started. And now, this song blew up and changed the game forever. It changed the game. Like, it gave an opportunity to underground producers like never before. At that time, you were still messing with the same type of beat makers, from Jermaine Dupri, Timbaland. You were messing with this pretty much kind of the same group, but then you started getting. I mean, you got professional people that were using FL Studios at the time. What was his name? That he did a song on Jay-Z's The Black Album. And I believe the majority of it, if not all of it, was created on FL Studios. So producers can show, and have shown continuously, that type of stuff works. And it could come out really awesome. But when Soulja Boy came out with that song, it changed things. It changed things forever. And the second thing was even a deeper decline in rock music. I mean, during that time, I think we were really severely being dominated by Nickelback. We had the Foo Fighters still, but they were doing stadium rock. And not that there's anything wrong with stadium rock, but you had Metallica, who's probably still touring during that time, but was still a year or two away from Death Magnetic, that put them back on the map. But as far as rock and roll and their place, they didn't really have it anymore. It wasn't really there. They really started disappearing, and it was because of producers like Soulja Boy's producer, whoever it was, and the rise of FL Studios, how they really started competing with people that have been playing instruments for decades and generations. And now that eventually became the expectation within the industry. See, the industry needs to be able to press out music at a high velocity, because people want things that fast now. And it's because of technology. It's because of the internet. It's because of the cell phone. And it could either be good, it could either be bad. Either way, we're going to have to live with it. So let's try and figure out how to get better with it. So 2010, all the way up to now, over the years, we really haven't had a big metal or rock sensation. And there's no real reason on wondering why. The fact of the matter is, hip-hop completely took over. And the genres that surround hip-hop have also converted to that type of production. No longer do you need 7, 8 musicians in a room to create a record. You just need one person in front of a laptop that knows what they're doing and knows their chord progressions and creates. And they can create a masterpiece that can equally fight against something that was created in the 40s that was big band style. Someone can make that on the laptop now. That's how incredible technology is. And the reason why I feel like I killed rock and roll was because I was part of the eventual demise of rock and roll. And I don't want to say that it died or anything like that. I think it went back underground. You see, I can picture these kids right now, that some kids that are just so tired of listening to the same stuff that's happening over and over. You look at an artist like Tekashi 6ix9ine, who is facing a 30-year charge, could be facing life. And you got these kids that are glorifying drugs. They're creating, I mean, that's always been like that, even with hip hop since back in the 80s. I mean, they were speaking positive messages, but mid 90s, early 90s, all the way on forward, we really started idolizing drugs and money and all that. And we eventually took over rock and roll's mantle of glam rock. You remember when it was just about rock and roll, drugs, and women? That's where the era of, I think, hip hop is right now. They're in that era. And maybe they're trying to make Tekashi 6ix9ine an example. And it sucks that such a young kid can potentially go to jail for such a long time. But that is a warning for not necessarily just the people in the industry, but just the people in the world in general, to see what we have. We have kids that idolize this guy that does good things for the community. I don't know if you know the services that he does for kids and the donations that he consistently gives to kids' organizations, but you reap what you sow. And I wish we can use this as an example to show kids, like, don't do this. For lack of a better word, don't do this. And I hope that this can also influence kids to be like, somewhere along the lines, we need to introduce these kids back to instruments in their hands, because since they removed it from schools, I remember going to choir class in 6th grade, and by the next year, choir class was gone, and I fell in love with choir. I fell in love with singing. I thought it was the coolest thing in the world to be able to learn how to project your voice. And it was gone. And it was because of this government spending and the cutting that eventually took that away from me. And I don't know if they know the effect of what's really happening. You take arts away, you take our creativity away, especially as kids. Don't take our creativity away. And eventually they do. Of course, you're always going to have marching band, and I've always wanted to play in what do they call the drum line? I've always wanted to do drum line, and I couldn't afford pretty much anything, and I didn't know what I wanted at the time. I fell in love with singing, and they took that away from me. The school system took that away from me. Not cool. So I will pretty much leave it there. That's how I feel like I killed rock and roll. I felt like I had a hand in it. Like, you can imagine a million hands on this knife, and it's going to rock and roll, and I happen to join in, and every single person that went to FL Studios eventually led to the death, not necessarily death, but more of the disappearance of rock and roll, to send it back to the underground. But eventually, some kid out there is practicing. Some kid out there just heard Led Zeppelin for the first time, just heard Black Keys for the first time. Some kid that's locked in their room, quiet, crying to the world, is turning up a Bob Dylan record. And in order for them to get through it, they pick up an instrument and they strum away, and they let their emotions go through them. They let it take control and create the next Jimi Hendrix, the next Dr. Dre, the next Eminem, the next Bob Dylan, the next Zeppelin, Metallica, Ozzy Osbourne. All we need to do is just give these kids an opportunity to pick whatever they want. They can learn how to play something electronically and then later on fall in love with an instrument, just like I did. Fell in love with creating music on a laptop, eventually learned how to play the drums, and I love the drums to death. I wouldn't trade it for anything. I wouldn't trade it for FL Studios, if I can just be 1,000,000% honest. I love the drums. Someone out there is practicing, and someone's going to bring rock and roll back up to the front. It's not going to look like what we were used to looking at rock and roll. I'm used to looking at rock and roll like Foo Fighters, Led Zeppelin. We might not see that type of music in rock and roll ever again. But I'm excited for the future, just like I'm excited for the future in roller derby. I realize that I love what I'm seeing in WFTDA and MRDA right now, both skill-wise and competitively, with the smiles and the high fives and the high acrobatical stuff. And one thing in particular, in the final bout in the 2018 WFTDA champs, Rose City versus VRDL, Much Mayhem catches herself falling down with one arm, and you see the defender thinking that she completed the job and went back. Much Mayhem gets up and takes off. People were so astonished by it, except it's been happening in the juniors for the past 2-3 years. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to wake up. These incredible feats that are happening in the adults are happening in the juniors and have been happening. They are creating these new masterpieces out there, and they're not even thinking about it. That's the crazy thing. They've been playing derby for 10 years, and they're like 17. That's crazy. I learned how to play basketball when I was 5 years old, and I didn't stop playing until I was 25. Kids are now learning how to skate and play derby from the age of 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, and they've been learning, and they play all the way up until they are 18. They are naturals on their skates. They look at skating like the way they look at walking. It's all normal. That's where we are going. No longer is this going to be a sport for the misfits, for the people that didn't fit in somewhere. The sport will always have that spirit. Will always have that spirit, and the sport will always be acceptant of those type of people. I'm one of those type of people, and I'm very happy that roller derby accepted me the way that they had. I'm a guy, but I think the reason why I was so accepted so fast was because I came in with a family. I came in with Ivy, and I came in with my son Michael, and we did this together as a team. And I think that's how we more along the less got away with not dealing with headaches and problems. People like their family, and then they saw our work. They saw how genuine we were about everything that we do, and that's what really catapulted us to where we are today. But we will leave that there for today. Before I let you go, I want to give a quick shout out to the sponsors. Anabolix Skate, you can check them out at anabolixskate.com. When you use the code HitSquadTV, you get yourself 10% off. Empire Skate Shop, you can check them out at empireskateshop.com. If you use HitSquad TV, you get yourself 10% off. And they are now carrying Team Hit Squad shirts. And if I'm not mistaken, they are on sale right now for $20. So you will go ahead and check them out. Check them out there at empireskateshop.com. You could also check out rollercon.com. The passes have been on sale now for a couple days, so make sure you get your passes, and I will see you out in Las Vegas in July. Is it July yet? And finally, I want to give a big shout out to the Big O Tournament. Big O Tournament's coming up this May 3rd to May 5th, and the teams so far include Denver Roller Derby, Evil Roller Derby, Montreal Roller Derby, Rose City, Drive-By, Puget Sound Outcast, Vancouver Murder, Los Anarchists, Pile of Bones, Santa Cruz Derby Groms, Seattle Derby Brats. Get your tickets now at bigotournament.com. Ladies and gentlemen, my name has been Lloyd Knox, and I appreciate each and every single one of you that's tuned in to the Team Hit Squad podcast. I love each and every single one of you, and I will see, or I guess I will talk to you tomorrow. Peace out.